I feel like I've just found something absolutely massive, and it's actually what my next video is going to be about. I'm going to move on to the evidence in Rose West trial soon. I will make that video, but this one is huge. I was listening to an episode of the Fred West tapes by Howard Soons, and it was the episode about Caroline Owens, or the one that got away. In the episode, he's talking about how he tried to get Caroline Owens to be part of his newspaper to give her exclusive interview. In the end, she went with the Sun, and that in itself is all interesting and a little bit concerning, but what else was said is what really got me. So Howard in the episode plays recordings of phone conversations that he had, and one was with Caroline Owens, and it was said to be after the pre-trial hearing in February 1995 against Rose. In the conversation, Howard is asking Caroline if she thinks that perhaps she was the first victim of Fred and Rose, and she says yes, she does. He asks if she thought that she was Rose's first victim, and she says, oh, I don't know. And then he goes on to say, because he understands from the police that this was kind of a dummy run for Rose. That's what Fred had told the investigation. Now, he makes no secret of the fact that he has an informant who has been feeding him information, and that's how he's been writing his articles. But after he tells Caroline this information about it being a dummy run from Fred to see if Rose could cope with it, Caroline says, God. He then goes on to say, because obviously Fred had been doing these things for a long time before he did what he did to you, before Rose had done what they did to you. Now, I'm thinking that's questionable. You shouldn't really be talking to people who are going to be trial witnesses, giving them information that you have from your police sources or whoever it is that give you this information. But then he goes on to say that before the trial, he meets SIO John Bennett in the police station. John Bennett has asked him to go into the police station, and he spends 4 hours talking to Detective Bennett before the trial. So I'm thinking this is after he spoke to Caroline. But no, because he talks about Bennett having told him that he thought Fred West was going to plead not guilty. Now, Fred West killed himself, committed suicide in January 1995. So this meeting between Howard Soons and John Bennett happened before that, and before the pre-trial hearing in Dursley, and before Howard had that phone conversation with Caroline Owens. Now, since when is it okay for police officers, especially the ones in charge of such a huge investigation, to have 4-hour-long conversations with journalists? And I don't know what he said in this 4-hour-long conversation, but obviously a lot must have been said. But then for that same journalist to be going on and talking to people who are going to be trial witnesses, that's not okay, is it? I mean, I'd love to know what anybody else thinks.